people who have helped us to, make this FDP possible in a very short time. I offer my humble welcome to all of them. To begin with, I deem it my pleasure to welcome the backbone of our academic make this FDP possible in a very short time. I kindly mute all of you. I deem it my pleasure to welcome the backbone of our curricular and extracurricular activities of the college, Dr. Naveen Kumar CM, our beloved principal. I extend a warm welcome to the chairperson of English Studies undergraduation of BCU, Dr. Chitra Panikar, for gracing this occasion amidst all the uncertainties. I also welcome the guest speaker, the panelists for the day, the heads and the faculty members of all the BOS and also the textbook committee members and textbook committee heads who are going to address all of us. I welcome the esteemed participants of the faculty development program. A warm welcome extended to my fellow colleagues who have joined, technical in charge, Professor Shruti and Professor Saravanan sir, and the student volunteers without whose help this FDP wouldn't be seeing the light of the day here, because they have all immensely worked backstage. I welcome all of you here to a 5-day online faculty development program on effective curriculum implementation, focusing on new textbooks of the 4th semester, Insights 4 and Confluence 4 prescribed by the Bangalore City University. Now, to begin with our today's day one's proceedings, the program of today is chalked out like this. The address by the principal and also the inaugural remarks of Dr. Chitra Panikar, the chairperson of BCU Undergraduation Textbook Committee, followed by all the heads of a talk, an introduction to their work for all these 2 years, and the third year also for optional English and communicative English. The heads of the textbook committees are going to address all of us regarding their work. And after that, there will be the vote of thanks. So to begin with, I request our principal, Dr. Naveen Kumar CM, to address all of us. Sir, please.
Good afternoon. Is my voice audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yes. Thank you. First of all, let me thank all the resource persons who have taken their precious time during this uncertain period or uncertain situation. I should thank Dr. Chitra Panikar. Thank you so much, madam, for being a part of this online faculty development program. Professor, Chairman, Board of Studies in English, Bangalore University, Nana Bharati campus. So thank you so much, madam. I should also thank Dr. Padma Lochana, our Chairperson of Optional English Textbook Committee, MS Ramaya College. Madam, thank you so much for accepting our invitation and being a part of this virtual gathering. And I should also thank Professor M. Shiv Prasad, Member of Board of Studies, Vivekananda Degree College. So thank you so much, sir. I should also thank Professor Manjula Veerappa, Chairperson, Communicative English, Vijaya College. Madam, thank you so much. And also, I should thank Professor Wasim Akram, Member, BSc Textbook Committee, who is also a part of this. And I should also thank, I think, Dr. Sushila B is also there. So thank you so much, madam, for joining this virtual gathering. In fact, as you all know, COVID-19 second wave has really massacred all the academic programs, which is on par with what is happening. But whatever happening outside, as far as our curriculum, proceedings are concerned, we need to take on. On this aspect, I think a timely initiative taken by Department of English, Jain College, focusing on effective implementation of English, especially focusing on 4 semester English programs for various UG programs. I'm sure this particular 5 days online FDP will provide a roadmap for all the teaching community who have been logged in, who who are the participant of this FDP, will provide some roadmap how to go through the contents. So I think Bengaluru Bengaluru City University has taken a lot of initiatives, and of course our new Vice Chancellor, Dr. Ningaraj Gandhi sir, who has taken the Vice Chancellor post, and under his regime, I think still more, there are so many programs which they are planning to initiate. So I think my sincere congratulations to the Department of English of our college who has taken this initiative. I'm sure this 5 days will be a wonderful knowledge gathering for all the people who are going to be a part of this virtual gathering. Okay, so thank you so much. All the very best, and thank you. And I'm just handing over the mic to Akila for further proceeding. Thank you so much. Akila?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your encouraging words. And now I do. It's my privilege. I deem it my privilege to introduce Dr. Chitra Panikkar. I think she needs no introduction. Yet it's a pleasure to have Dr. Chitra Panikkar. She is to have her brief profile. I looked at BU website and I found all this on, and it is very I'm very happy to share all this. So just a moment, I will be sharing her profile. Professor Chitra Panikkar teaches at the Department of English, Bangalore University. After her PhD work on James Joyce and Marcel Proust from the Department of English, Kerala University, she worked as a resident scholar in the James Joyce Foundation, Zurich, Switzerland for a year. On her return to India, she worked as lecturer in the Center for Comparative Literature in Hyderabad Central University for 8 years. And she has also been a reader in the Center for Applied Linguistics and Translation Studies in the same university for 6 years. And then she joined the Department of English, Bangalore University. Her areas of interest span from the literary cultural theory to translation studies and to Indian literatures. Joy's studies being her specialization, she has translated and published 8 chapters of Joy's Ulysses into Malayalam and continues to translate literary and critical text from Malayalam into English and vice versa. While theorizing those practices, she has been on a fellowship of the Department of Advanced Culture, Government of India for 2 years, and has been an associate fellow at the Indian Institute of Advanced Study, Shimla. The last few years, as a part of research programs sponsored by the UGC, she has also been essentially working on questions of identity and has published articles that offer an interdisciplinary perspective on literary texts. Apart from her ongoing interest in curricular revisions and syllabus designing, she has been socially active on the issues of gender and caste. Ma'am, you're welcome for your inaugural remarks. Now it's
Thank you.
to you.
Thank you. Respected Jain College Principal, Dr. Naveen Kumar. Am I audible?
Yes, madam, you are audible.
Respected Jain College Principal, Dr. Naveen Kumar, teaching staff of Jain College, resource persons, and dear teacher participants. It's my pleasure to be in your midst, addressing you this afternoon on the importance of curricular designing and syllabus revision, as well as its effective implementation. What we are part of today is the natural fallout of an endeavor we initiated 2 years ago, and that is the revision of the Bengaluru City University undergraduate English syllabus. Professor Jaffet, the then Vice Chancellor of Bengaluru City University, had placed upon me. Am I audible?
You are audible.
Respected Jain College Principal. Hello?
Ma'am, you're audible, ma'am.
Professor Jaffet, who the then Vice Chancellor of Bengaluru City University.
Shruti, I think there is an echo.
Oh,
There is some technical thing. Please
I'll
rectify
check, sir. I'll
There is
check,
an
sir.
echo. Sorry, Chitra madam. 1 minute, madam.
Dear participants, kindly mute yourselves. Dear participants, kindly mute mic.
Sir, now?
Professor Jaffet, the then Vice Chancellor of
Ma'am, I think so now.
No, it's okay. Yeah. Now I think it's fine.
Can I proceed?
Yes, madam. Now it's fine.
So I'm actually going into the history of this textbook production. Professor Jaffet, who was the then Vice Chancellor of BCU, had placed upon me this impossible task of revising the undergraduate English syllabus, and that too in no time. You can imagine 6 streams, the commerce stream, the science stream, additional English, communicative English, general English, and optional English. Had it not been for the able cooperation of our undergraduate Board of Studies members, I could not have accomplished even a fraction of what we have now collectively accomplished and what we now can proudly show as the result of committed teachers creating the best possible material for their students. Though the volumes carry my name as editor, each textbook is born of the labor and commitment of the chairperson of the textbook committee and her total team of people. The selection, the discussion, the details are all theirs. I was there only as a constant presence to motivate, help select in some cases, and resolve issues whenever required, and perhaps also decide on an overall syllabus policy. I'm extremely happy about this workshop that has been organized by Jain College to facilitate teachers get a smooth stepping into the 4th semester program. It is as it should be. It is vital that the ones who plan share their vision and further plan with ones ordained to carry it out. Much thinking has gone into the making of the BCom text and the additional English text, the 2 texts that we are discussing in this workshop, that is Insights 4 and Confluence 4, and the chairpersons of the concerned textbook committees, Professor Sheila and Professor Leena Karanth, are here to share the details of that thinking exercise with you. From our side, as a general policy, we have tried to keep the selections as multi-accented as possible, incorporating multiple voices from different cultures, intending to inculcate in students practices of sensitive thinking, social awareness, and effective language use. And putting together a syllabus is no joke. It is as demanding as editing an anthology. The editorial policy in a syllabus is made clear through stated aims and objectives, and syllabus revisions entail the constant updating of knowledge and ideas. It has been highly rewarding for me personally the last 2 years working with a committed bunch of teachers, and I take this opportunity to thank each and every member of the textbook committees, as also the Board of Studies of Bengaluru City University, that is the Undergraduate Board of Studies, who made it so precious for me, this experience of working together. Let me also thank Jain College for all arrangements to run this online workshop towards implementation and towards effective implementation. And let me wish all the teacher participants a fruitful interaction with the resource persons the next 4 days. I'll sign off for now. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing the journey of those 2 years of making the textbook. Now, I call upon Professor Katyayani, Department of English, for the next deliberations of the session. Katyayani, ma'am.
Thank you, Akhilan. I deem it a pleasure to introduce the first speaker of the day today. It is Dr. Padmalochana. I think she is a very, very popular person amongst the valuers, the BU and the BCU valuers. She's a very popular person by name and even by her work. She has lots of to her credit. Madam has done her PhD, MPhil, MBA, and she is awarded PhD by the Himalayan University on feminism in Indian literature, from mythology to contemporary literature, under the able guidance of Fayaz Ahmed. She was awarded MPhil from Bharati Dasan University under the guidance of Cherian Alexander. Madam Padmalochana currently is working in MS Ramaya Commerce College for Commerce and Science, and she heads the department for the past 25 years. She's got, and all her experience is put into the bringing of the textbook, optional English textbook, The Mindscapes. And currently, she is the person of the optional English textbook, and she is the member of the examiners. She has set question papers for many a times, and of course, she's also done question papers for the KPSC exams too. And she has got many papers and publications to her credit. So I would like to wish her all the best, and I would like to welcome Dr. Padmalochana to start the first session, ma'am. Welcome to you, ma'am.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Well, Katyayani the other day told me that my time is limited to 15 minutes. Is that right, Katyayani?
Actually, you can take 20 minutes, ma'am. No issues.
Okay, anyway, 20 minutes, I think it's too short to tell about all the 4 books of Mindscapes that have come out as of now.
Yeah.
So I'll just give 1 minute in the introduction to the first 3 books, and then I'll go on to talk about the 4th, the Mindscapes 4.
Yeah.
So I would like to thank Dr. Naveen Kumar, Principal Jain College, for giving me this opportunity to present here. And I would also like to thank Dr. Chitra Padikar for selecting me as a chairperson for the textbook committee. The Mindscapes, actually the very name Mindscape was a suggestion, a nomenclature given by Chitra Panikar, Dr. Chitra Panikar herself. This book is as a textbook for the optional English or literature English for BA classes. Mindscape, we decided to have the various themes for every book, and Mindscape 1 was British literature, Mindscape 2 also was continuation of British literature, and Mindscape 3 had the theme of Indian writing in English, and now we have Mindscape 4 with the theme Indian writing in English translation. Indian civilization is one of the ancient civilizations, and Indian literatures are also very ancient. First recorded Indian literatures are religious scriptures like Vedas and Upanishads, written in Pali, Prakrit, and Sanskrit. These literatures are the literatures of the learned and were not for common man. Around the 14th century, literatures of sons like Kabir, and in the later years, Tulsidas, Surdas, songs and dohas were popular in the north. In southern India, literatures of Dravidian languages like Tamil and Kannada came to be known. There began a Bhakti movement where Veerashaiva writers were popular. They all wrote in language and diction of common man. This book has selections of the works written in the language of a common man. The poor man who was punished even when he accidentally listened to the shlokas of the elite has now access to devotional songs written in a language they could sing. This book, Mindscape 4, has 5 sections, one each for poetry, novella, drama, prose, and language. The poetry section begins with the songs of Kabir, translated by Tagore, followed by vachanas of Basveshwara and Akka Mahadevi. All these works deal with devotion. These works transcend the orthodoxies of the religious traditions of those times. They have all challenged certain practices and superstitions of the cultures that existed during their times. While works of Kabir are known for their Nirguna Bhakti, a devotion to formless, impersonal divine, works of Basaveshwara and Akkama Devi depict devotion towards one particular form. Their devotion was ultimate and had devotees and followers of all classes. They had revolutionized caste system. People belonging to the lowest of low caste also were their followers. Women were part of this movement and were given equal status. In the present situation, where communal disharmony and people fighting over religious issues has increased, we thought educating our students regarding such issues would be better, and thus these selections were included in the book. We then have Gandhi and Poetry, a poem written by K. Sachidanandan and is translated from Malayalam. Here again, the poet has personified an abstract entity, a poem. This is an imaginary conversation between Gandhiji and the poem. Gandhi ignores the poem initially, but later tells the poem that literature in a language alien to common man is not what he wants. He wants poetry to be in the vernacular language, and the poets should understand the hardships faced by common man. Gandhi advises the poem not to speak in Sanskrit. We then have G.S. Shivarudrappa's The Song of a Bird, Ede Tumbi Hadidanu, a most popular song we have been listening to for quite some time. He introduces the concept of art for art's sake and not for any monetary benefit. He speaks about a singer who sings only to entertain his listeners. Singer does not expect anything in return, but expects the audience to listen to his music with the same love and devotion that a bird expects from the people or the other birds who listen to it. Rain at Night is the next poem. Rain at Night or Ratrimala by Sugata Kumari, a poem under the genre eco-poesy, tells that chauvinistic rules of the society prevent a woman from expressing herself. She is indifferent to her surroundings and is unable to even weep. Only during the rain at night, she discovers her feelings. The night rain is a companion who is a witness to all her plights. She shares all her grievances with the night rain. Chupulu or Stairs is the last selection of this section, a poem by Annipindi Jayaprabha, who talks about the looks a woman has to face once she crosses the threshold of her house. The looks or stare she faces is no less than an assault, and the poet is certain that the contemporary woman is confident enough to thwart all attempts to discourage her. She is determined not to look back and overcome all hindrances thrown away. Section 2 is the section where we have introduced a novella Rodali, written by Mahashweta Devi and translated by Anjum Katyal. This is the story of a woman, Shanichari, an illiterate woman belonging to Ganjo community and was a victim of exploitation. She had faced innumerable tragedies in her life which had robbed her tears. She couldn't shed tears during any of the tragic incidents in life. The novella depicts a gradual transformation into a Rodali, a professional mourner. A woman who couldn't weep at the death of her son later gains confidence and turns a professional mourner. This novel teaches our youngsters to face all the difficulties with confidence and empower themselves to lead an independent life. Section 3 of the book has a play Fire and the Rain, written by Girish Karnat. The title of the play, Fire and the Rain, two elements which are antithetical to each other. While fire denotes anger and destruction, rain denotes calm and rejuvenation. Fire and rain is the modern version of an old legend of Yavakrita of Mahabharata times. Karnad has given a contemporary meaning to an old legend which depicts the risks of knowledge without wisdom and power without integrity. Through the play, Karnad admonishes the Vedic society of the times for disregarding humanity, love, and affection, and in giving importance to jealousy, vengeance, and political manipulation. Yavakri observes severe penances for 10 years and obtains knowledge of the Absolute as boon from Indra, only to use it to take revenge. He wanted to disrupt Raibya's happy life. Raibya, in turn, uses his past to create Brahma Rakshasa to kill Yavakri. Finally, the play, while emphasizing on humanism and aesthetic experience of salvation, also incorporates within its frame some of Karnad's own ideas regarding theatre and dramatic art. It explores the historical roots in order to comment on the birth of drama. The fourth section, the prose section, comprises of four short fictions. The first is Voice of God or Panch Parmeshwar, were written by Premchand. This Premchand story tells us the divinity of the position of Sarpanch. The moment Algu was chosen as Sarpanch, he felt that he was given an important responsibility. He couldn't be partial and gave an honest judgment which was against his friend Juman. Juman and Algu, the best friends, part ways. Juman was very angry with Algu. Years later, when Juman is put in a similar situation where he is given the responsibility of being Sarpanch, he understands what made Algu give the decision. The chair of Sarpanch commands honesty and loyalty is what Premchand tries to convey through his story. The next story is Roots or Jade by Ismat Chigtai. This discusses the effects of partition and how old people didn't want to leave their roots behind. Ismat tells a story of an old woman who does not understand the very impact of partition. She refuses to go away from her roots to Pakistan and is ready to stay alone behind. She feels that her roots are in the house that she has been living all her life and does not want to go away from her roots. From her roots and her country. After her family leaves, she is very insecure and is scared for them. She is restless, and when a neighbor brings the family back from station the following day, She breathes a sigh of relief. Amma, that's how she was addressed, stayed steadfast in a position like a banyan tree that stands upright through storms and blizzards. The next story in this section is Heroine or Hirovuku Oru Heroine by D. Jayakant. This story shows how a dutiful Sati Savitri kind of a wife, Madhu, who was happy to be her husband's doormat, suddenly transforms herself into an independent woman and bravely sends her husband out of the house once she gets to know that he was unfaithful to her. The other woman also realizes that if a less educated woman like Madhu can take such a stance, then she, being an educated woman, can also do the same and decides to stay away from Sitaraman. The Weed by Amrita Preetham is the last story of this section. The short story, The Weed, is one of the best stories written by Amrita Preetham. The author tries to pass on the message that our society should do away with certain age-old customs. This story reflects how well Amrita Preetham has analyzed the mind of a woman. She deals with the outcome of a marriage between an old man and a young girl. She has created a character, Anguri, whose sensitivity is portrayed perfectly. A simple village girl, Anguri, is unable to understand her own feelings. When she discovers her feelings, she is of the opinion that it is sin for a married girl to fall in love with a man who is not her husband. She attributes it to the weed that people add to pan. The section 5 is the section of language, facets of language. Facets of language in Mindscapes 4 deal with discourse analysis in academics and real life situations. It instructs thoroughly on coherence, cohesion, and social context in discourse. The functions of discourse, speech, and written medium, functions of language, the mode, tenor, and domain are the parts of the facets. It is framed in such a way that the students get a thorough knowledge of discourse. This will enable the students to apply the knowledge practically with proper understanding and insights. Thank you. I would like to thank all the members of my team who have supported me, and without whose help and support, these textbooks wouldn't have been a reality. Thank you, Katyayani, and thank you everyone there.
Complete coverage. I think the additional optional English students might definitely be beneficial, and you can also serve for the LSM and even as a resource person. So we would like to take any questions, Akhila ma'am, if there are any questions, or can we move on?
Not right now, ma'am. We can move on.
Okay, we can. So thank you, Padmalochana ma'am. We will now call upon the second speaker for the day, Wasim Akram sir. Sir has a heavy profile actually. It's actually a pleasure to be talking about Wasim Akram sir, who is actually currently working in Drupatunga University Gas College of Bangalore. Sir, his qualification goes like this. Sir has MA, CGS, KSET, NET, PGDB, PGDCR, PGDELT. I think for the benefit of the listeners, I think I would expand it. Maybe the others might be motivated listening to it. MA, CGS is Certificate Gandhi and Studies by Bangalore University. And Sir has created KSET and NET. And PGDB is a postgraduate diploma in behavioral psychology from NIMHANS. And PGDCR is postgraduate diploma in comparative literature from Christ University. And PGDELT is RAE Institute, Regional Institute of English. So, and currently Wasim Akram sir is pursuing his PhD from Tumkur University under the guidance of Dr. Brinda Veerappa. Sir's achievements goes like this. Wasim Akram has a gold medalist in BA. He's a first rank in MA English, first rank in CGS, and best NSS volunteer in the year 2012. And Wasim also has 5 papers of publications in the nationally reviewed journal, and 2 international publications. So totally, he has I don't the years of experience must be more than that, sir. It speaks beyond that. So currently, he's working in Rupatunga University, and I would like to call upon Wasim Akram, sir, who is a part of the BSc textbook, to give us an overview of the whole text. Welcome to you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, Professor Katyayani, for a brief. I would only suffice to say that it would have been enough if you had just informed the audience that I happen to be a student of Dr. Chitra Panikar. I think that suffices everything for me.
That's wonderful.
I feel it a great privilege to be
Okay.
among such luminaries. It feels like a high school student entering a graduation class. I do not know whether I would be able to do justice to the responsibility given to me. I am basically here to represent the BSc textbook. The chairperson for the BSc textbooks happens to be Dr. Anita Rao. Because of some reasons, she isn't keeping well. So we thought that Professor Shiv Prasad thought that it would be nice if I represent on her behalf. Now, as the time allotted to me is 20 minutes, I would try to do justice to the imprints 4, that's the 4th semester BSc textbook. Before getting into that, let me just give you a short glimpse of what the previous 3 textbooks covered. We had 3 different themes for the previous 3 textbooks. The first theme was on a narrative of democracy. Imprints 1 spoke about that. Imprints 2 spoke about the insights of development, where we had selections which spoke about to look forward for the future and how to develop. In the third textbook, that is Imprints 3, we focused mainly on the young world. As we all know that it is the receiver happens to be a young student sitting in front of us in the age group of 18 to 20. So we thought it was important that he or she should feel related to what they have more resonance with. And the fourth one, that is Imprints 4, the title that we have given to this is called Melange. Now, melange happens to be a French word, which means it's a combination of different things, different people coming together. And I feel basically this is what the textbook reflects. Imprint 4 happens to be serving a dual objective. The first happens to be the literary sensibilities, to hone the literary sensibilities of the students. At the end of the day, we being English teachers, we all are aware that literary sensibilities happens to be one of those skills which a student before he or she graduates must have within them. The second purpose, the objective of the second is developing the linguistic skills. Now we are in a competitive world, we are in a global we are in a global market, and we all are aware that unless and until our students are capable linguistically, they would not be on a same pedestal as an international student. And for that, English being lingua franca of the world, I would say that the textbook focuses upon developing their linguistic skills. Talking about the selections of the textbooks are quite kaleidoscopic in nature, as the title itself speaks about. It is a melange of different sections. It is a melange of different genres, of different forms of writing. We have tried to cover a various range of subjects and issues both relevant right now and issues which are simmering from past quite many years. It is also important that we as a textbook committee thought that it is necessary that the students must be aware of the social concerns in the society that they live in. So in order to sensitize them, we have a few selections on that. Every lesson, every chapter as that we have taken it as a selection has a pre-reading activity. It has a post-reading activity associated with that, so that the text does not become an individual item just flowing there in the abyss. Now, the mission of our textbook is basically 3 main important words. And these 3 words happens to be explore, practice, and perform. I'm pretty sure that the textbook definitely does justice to it. On the language aspects, we are stressed a lot upon English for the professional use. It is very important, and it goes without saying that the students that we get today, most of them come so that they can get a job tomorrow. And we would be failing in our duty if we don't do justice to that aspect, that inspiration, that factor for which they are coming to the college. And for that, we have the English for professional purpose. We also have, the text also has a dystopian text. It also has a utopian narrative. It has also got a part where we have, after every chapter, something called as a fact watch, wherein interesting items are given to students related to the chapter so that the students might be influenced to read more about that, and it would also influence upon them to know about the general knowledge. Apart from this, the textbook also comprises of a question paper, unsolved question paper from an all India level competitive exam. We have taken question papers across all the text. Imprints 1 had a question paper, imprints 2 had a question paper, and the degree has constantly been increasing. In imprints 1, we had an SDA level question paper. In imprints 2, we had an FDA level question paper. And in imprints 3, we had an officer level question paper. And in imprints 4, we have a UPSC level question paper. Now, this happens to be the basic skeletal framework of my text. Coming into the text, the literary section, the title of which I have already mentioned it as Melange, it is a varied mixture. I say varied mixture because we were of the opinion that there were so many issues that were there in front of us while the deliberations were going on for the selections that we thought, instead of sticking on to a single topic, a single genre, a single idea that we thought of in the first 3 imprints, we thought this would be our last chance to show that these are the topics which can be given to students. So in the first section, we have the literary section. Under the literary section, the first opening section, the opening text happens to be a highly anthologized poem, The Night of the Scorpion by Nissim Ezekiel. This is given here to give the students an example of what a classic Indian writing in English stands for. I'm pretty sure the students would have thought in the first 3 semesters and their understanding of English literature from their high school and from the schooling level that English is associated only with the Western world. This tries to change their perspective in that. The second selection happens to be Landlady by a very popular writer called Roald Dahl. Roald Dahl happens to be one such writer who resonates not just with children, who resonates with any age group. And to give our students an understanding of what basically is the essence of a story, what is the essence of knowing a story, how to narrate a story, how to be involved in a story, we have selected this. This shows the innocence, the simplicity of a child's world. The innocence and simplicity, which I would say would also translate into the imaginative prowess of a child, which as we grow older, we tend to lose. To get back to the childhood of our students, we see to it that this particular story will play a major role there. The third unit that we have in the text is Word on a Wall by another very popular writer, Gerald Durrell. Now, this text is a text where you see the sensitivity of our students towards not just around the materialistic world, but also towards the environment, but also towards the animals that are there. It is not just necessary for us to occupy them, to give them enough instruments to fight the world, and they forgetting about what nature is, they forgetting about what environment is, they forgetting about what they are a part of. This particular text by Gerald Durrell will talk about that. The fourth happens to be a very interesting poem called The Bells by Edgar Allan Poe. The reason why we selected this particular poem happens to be that it has quite many tools of language in this particular piece. You have alliteration, you have onomatopoeia, you have assonance, you have quite many other poetic language, poetic devices here, wherein the students would be able to not just enjoy the meaning of the poem, they would also be able to enjoy the sound effect that language can have over the readers. The fifth one is a very interesting one. The title of that is Mysore Sandal Soap Turns 100. Now, this is an article which is written by a very famous local historian called Suresh Muna. The reason that we selected this particular text is because to understand, to make the students understand that understanding the local literature is also very important. Since it is a text which is concerned with the Bangalore Central University, the students coming to those colleges in Bangalore Central University must be aware of the history, of the heritage of the city. They must also understand how this city is an important part in the country, and how the heritage that we share is so important. The sixth unit in this particular text happens to be prayer before birth. Now, this is, I would say, it requires a mature reading. The teachers would be required to take the students into a mature level, where Frederick Louis MacNeice, an Irish writer, he talks about how a child, an unborn child, is making a prayer just before it comes into the world. And what is the prayer? The prayer talks about how he or she, the child, is apprehensive about the society in which it will be born, into the world in which it will be born. Now, looking at the circumstances today, I'm pretty sure everybody would be able to resonate with it thoroughly. The seventh unit of our text happens to be Origin of Earthquakes. Now, this is a folk tale. I'm pretty sure the students are going to enjoy this, as we try to make them acquaint with the rich oral tradition that our land has. The eighth one is another very interesting and an important text, according to me, that is Sultana's Dream. It is a story written by Ruqayya Shekhawat Hussain, one of the first pioneering women writers of India. I can also say that she stands for the face of the new woman in India in the turn of the 19th century. This is a utopian text where the protagonist has the access to the feministic rights and liberties that the feminists are fighting for today. Imagine a world where this was to be true. And not just imagine and leave at that, imagine and work towards that is what this particular story will inspire our students to do it in the future. And the ninth and the last section in the literary section happens to be The Time Machine, a very popular work by H.G. Wells, which is a dystopian text. The reason for us to have this particular text is to compare it with the utopian text of Sultana's Dream. Now, this ends the literary section. Mind you, the text, imprints 4, has all the 8 units of the literary section. The ninth unit, that is the the Time Machine by H.G. Wells, this particular novel is given as a separate text. The teachers must be reminded that they are supposed to ask the students to download the text from the particular link that we have provided in the textbook, so that there could be some uniformity. Coming to the grammar section, in the grammar section, we have stressed upon the speaking skills, and under the speaking skills, we have laid more of a stress on the interview skills. Now, as this happens to be the last semester where they would be dealing with general English, we thought it is very important that when they go out of the college, they have to be occupied with this particular skill. Under the writing skill, we have another very major skill that is, I would say, lacking in students to a certain extent, and which we all as teachers must try to hone them, is the essay writing skills. After this, we come to another very important part of grammar, that is the CV and the covering letter. Now, mind you, CV, covering letter, speaking skills, writing skills, all these are such skills in grammar where the more they practice, the better will be their performance. And to aid that, we have ample examples given, ample worksheets given. We have given them enough material. If they try to work it on that, I'm pretty sure by the end of the semester, they would be able to write a proper covering letter and a proper CV for themselves. And they would be able to answer at least the basic questions in an interview. Moving ahead, our grammar section also comprises of idioms, proverbs, and phrasal verbs. Now, mind you, I would say this one happens to be to that particular section of the class which would want to excel, which would want to master the language. So I would say that our textbook covers not just for the basics, but also for the mastery. At the end of the text, we have something called as a word bank, which is not for testing. It is a set of words which is given to the students so that they can improve on their, vocabulary. Following this, we have a question paper pattern to help the students to prepare for their examination. And the question paper pattern is followed by a model question paper so that the students can get an idea what are the questions that would come around these particular units. And at the end, as I had mentioned earlier, we have one full length competitive exam question paper taken from UPSC English. Now, this is where the textbook ends. I would like to extend a huge thank you from my end to Professor Katyayani, Professor Shiv Prasad, Dr. Chitra Panikar for having been patient enough to listen to me, Dr. Anita Rao for shouldering the responsibilities of all our young team members, for having put up with us, and last but not the least, to all the listeners. Thank you.
It was a wonderful session. I think the best part of your textbook was the including UPSC question paper into it. I think that will definitely take you have a different mileage altogether. I think we'll take the questions a little later. Akhila ma'am, we'll take the questions a little later.
Let all the speakers finish. After all the speakers are, have given their introduction to the textbook, if anybody has any questions, you can post your questions in the chat box. Thank you.
So now we'll move on to the last speaker of the day, Manjula Veerappa. Ma'am, are you there?
Yeah, Katyayani, hi.
Yeah, hi. Yeah. So it's a pleasure to introduce Manjula Veerappa, who happens to be working in Vijaya College for the past 20 years. She's a very popular name even in the Bangalore University city and the Bangalore University. So a warm welcome to this session, ma'am, FTP program. So I would like to give you a small introduction to Manjula Veerappa. Currently pursuing her PhD from Jain University, and she's done a MA from Bangalore University and BA optional from Mount Carmel College. And she is an associate professor teaching communicative English, English language and literature, and business English for the undergraduates. Manjula Veerappa is a chairperson for the Communicative English, Bangalore City University. And she also works as a visiting faculty at time, handling classes for GRE, GMAT, CAT, and banking exams. And she's a freelance examiner at Merit True Services for various overseas examination. And she's presented several research papers and few papers have been published. So apart from this, she also has been, sorry for that. She also has been working on language and soft skills administering assignments, teaching the foreign students. She's been a coach for the IT professionals in the English language, teaching a communicative English and the phonetics. And then she's developed a course content for the Mind Tree, okay, and which includes 20 hours working module there. And she also has taught the marginalized students at National College Jayanagar. She has taught a grammar for foreign students at Bangalore University program and taught spoken English at the English Center. So apart from this, she also has conducted various workshops for communication skills for lecturers and as well as the teacher. Currently, the positions which Manjula Veerappa holds are, she is a member of the Board of Examiners, Bangalore City University, UG as well as PG. And she's a member of Examiners, Bangalore University earlier, paper setter and examiner for Bangalore University and BCU, paper setter for Jyoti Nivas and examiner for Jain University and all this. So a huge welcome to you, Manjula Veerappa, and all the best.
Thank you, Katyayani. Good evening. At the outset, I would like to thank Professor Jaffat, former Vice Chancellor, Bengaluru City University, and Dr. Chitra Panikar, Chairperson, BOS, Bengaluru City University, for giving us an opportunity to bring out a handbook for communicative English. A special thanks to Chitra ma'am for her suggestions and with regard to the framing of the syllabus and the content for the handbook. The team is greatly indebted to Professor Shiv Prasad from Vivekananda College, Rajajinagar, for mooting the idea of introducing a handbook for this subject. This subject was introduced in Bangalore University in 1994, and till 2019, the subject did not have a structured or uniform content to be delivered by the teachers. There have been many instances when faculty members have backed out to teach this subject as they found that there was no direction except for the syllabus given to them from the university. To give you a brief introduction of the Communicative English course, Communicative English is an optional subject which is offered with BA vocational program. The Communicative English subject spans across 6 semesters with 2 theory papers and 2 practical papers in each semester. The students, at the end of the second and the fourth semesters, the students have to do a month's internship. Students can choose to do their internship in NGOs, media houses, communication departments of organizations. The syllabus was designed after a lot of deliberation with some professors and a few industry experts. The objectives of this syllabus, of framing this syllabus, are to develop the communication skills of the students, to hone students' pronunciation, and equip them to weave grammatically correct sentences. Many of our students use social media. For most of them, social media is Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and they are not really aware of the uses of the other platforms. So we have included a segment on this in one of our papers, and this is to help them write their own profiles instead of copy and pasting them from somewhere else. And it's also to teach them certain social media etiquette. The other objective is to give them an insight into the functioning and technicalities of the areas of mass communication. The practical components were designed with a view to accentuate the theory that they have learned. And also, the students will be equipped to prepare, the students will be prepared to choose careers mainly in the field of communication, media, corporate sector. I'd just like to give you a brief of the kind of job opportunities that are available to the students after doing this course. They can join the print media, newspapers or magazines, radio, television. They can get jobs as content writers. They can join the human resource department of companies. They can become communication trainers, equip them to be good English teachers, enter the world of television and cinema, not really to be on the screen, but off the screen as content writers. I have a few students who have been writing the subtitles for a few Hollywood movies. And they say that a lot of it was because of the course, because they dabble with a whole lot of papers in the 6 semesters that they study. There are opportunities awaiting them in the advertising industry. They can also be a part of the event management sector. They can become soft skill trainers and also equip them to a certain extent to be technical writers. I'm sorry, I have a presentation, but unfortunately, the host has not allowed me to share the presentation.
So, 2 minutes, ma'am, I'll allow you to share.
Can you?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah,
actually, you're the panelist.
I just want to show the papers that we had in the last 3 semesters.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I'll just make you the co-host now so that you can share it. Ma'am, can you know?
Yeah, I can.
Yes.
Yeah. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah. A glance at the papers of the first 3 semesters. First semester, we started off with an introduction to the basics of grammar. Of course, grammar is something that is taught in our general English classes also. But here we laid a little more stress on the different aspects of grammar so that it would benefit them in their writing in the future semesters, not just writing, the speaking aspect also. The next paper focused on phonetics and spoken English. The objectives of the first semester were to develop the communicative English competence of the students, for them to identify and avoid making common errors, to frame appropriate sentences, to speak and write fluently, and also to enhance their vocabulary. So that were a few objectives that we had in mind when we framed the syllabus for the first semester. The second semester, we had papers. The paper 3 was reading comprehension and composition. And the fourth paper was language and basics of linguistics. The objectives being to enhance specific reading and writing skills of the students, to enable them to comprehend the different styles of writing so that they will be able to make inferences and predictions based on the passage that they read, so that they also identify the author's intent, purpose, and tone. And also for them to have a brief understanding of the basic concepts of linguistics. Now, moving on to the third semester, from grammar, from the written, spoken, we moved on to another section that we focused mainly on the fifth paper, we focused on the print media, where they were introduced to the aspects of newspaper as well as magazine. They were told about the functioning of a newspaper organization, what goes into the making of a newspaper, how you are to write for the different components in a newspaper. So, and the other one was new media writing. The objectives being acquaint them with the functioning of a newspaper organization, inculcate the knowledge of editing, to familiarize the students with the nuances of writing for print media, to familiarize them with new trends in media, learn the basics of content writing, use editing symbols and techniques. And in this paper, New Media Writing, we also focused a little on writing profiles for their profiles for Instagram, Twitter, how to use these different handles, all about hashtags, which is so very popular today. So we just wanted the students to have an understanding of these aspects. Now we'll move on to the fourth semester. The fourth semester, again, they have 2 papers, writing for electronic media and creative writing. The objectives of paper 7, that is writing for electronic media, are 1, to acquaint the students of the evolution and the background of radio and television, to tell them about different genres of writing, that different genres of radio and television, to give them an understanding of what goes into scripting the different radio programs, to help them with language style that is associated, which is a peculiar thing or which is different from when you compare it with print media. And then we also saw to it that give them a kind of a background which will help them to decide what is it that they want to do in the future. As in, there are some people who are a little confused about picking electronic media or print media or in English literature, and of course in English literature. So anyway, this kind of a thing, we also wanted to prepare them to pursue a postgraduate program or a diploma program in radio and television. And basically, another thing was to equip them to take up jobs in radio and television. There are a whole lot of students who do not pursue their studies after their graduation, but jump into the industry. So if they have a bit of knowledge of these different aspects, I think we thought that it would be really helpful for them. The papers that we have in this particular paper, the modules that we have in this paper are Module 1, Introduction to Radio and Television as a Medium of Communication. Module 2, Writing for Radio and Television, where we focus mainly on news writing and prioritization of headlines. The third module was focuses on RJ script, radio jockey script. Fourth one is all about radio feature. Fifth one, radio play. Sixth module is to do with public service announcements for radio as well as television. The seventh module is to do with radio jingles. Eighth modules, interviews, all about how to go and interview a person. What is the preparation that is required? What kind of questions are to be asked? How is it to be executed with regard to these two mediums that you have, radio and television. The ninth module we have is podcast, which we thought was interesting because we have a whole lot of content today and a whole lot of communication that's taking place via podcast. The 10th module is a brief introduction of the history of television and growth and development of television in India. The practical component is that the students will have to produce a 10 to 15 minutes radio program. They will have to script the program and record the program. And it is done in a team comprising of 3 students. And these are a few components that are to be included in their programs. It could be a play or a feature, a radio jingle, a public service announcement, and a radio, there's a repetition of that. So these are the 3 components: radio feature, jingle, and public service announcement. Moving on to the 8th paper, the creative writing paper. The objectives of this paper being to develop the short story writing skills of students, to help them to develop the ability to narrate short story. It's not just to write, it's also to narrate is what we are focusing on out here. And it's also to basically to foster the impulse of writing in students. And we have a component on diary writing out here, though diary writing is a kind of a redundant thing today. Not many people are into diary writing, but we thought that we'll include this component so that students can give a creative outlook to their emotions and their feelings. And the other aspect that we were looking at is to develop their attitude, confidence, and ability to write independently. Because we move from short stories and we move on to the more creative aspects of today, maybe like brochure writing, things like that. And also to introduce students, another thing that we thought was quite popular and something that a lot of people like is travel writing. Though many of us cannot travel, or in days like this during the pandemic, when traveling is impossible, at least we can relive memories or read about someone else's experiences when we read travelogues and travel writing. So, I mean, it's not just we had that the pandemic in mind, but it's just that we thought we'll include this as a part of our syllabus. So the modules for the creative writing paper being Module 1, short story writing, Module 2, writing for children and young adults, book review, writing speeches, diary writing. 6th module being art review. Of course, art review is a difficult one. When we were compiling the material, when we were trying to generate it, we found it was very, very difficult to write an art review unless and until you do have a background. But what we thought was at least the students should know what is an art review. Of course, our general English and other things do speak about film review, art book review, but we thought we'll include this segment so that they get just an idea of what goes into writing about art. Travel writing, like I told you earlier, then limericks, haiku poetry, and the last component being brochures. The practical component out here is that the students will be given a topic on which they will write a short story, and the short story will be marked for 20 marks, and the remaining 15 marks is something that will be marked for the way they narrate that story. So you're writing as well as narrating out here. So that's the practical component. The learning outcomes of this semester will be, this is what we thought will be the learning outcomes. The course will make the learners know about the importance of radio and television. It will be, if they will be able to create and develop different radio scripts using the appropriate skills. They will be able to use written, oral, visual communication skills to communicate information and ideas. The reason why I brought communications, visual communication here is because they have one segment on brochures. So they can get as creative as possible out there with their drawing, things like that. The next one is they will have acquired knowledge of how media can be used as a tool to promote debate and discussion on current issues, because they will be writing scripts for radio plays where most of the plays revolve around certain social issues, or it could be with regard to radio talks. And moving on, students will be able to analyze, discuss a short story, as well as recognize the key elements of a short story. Understand, appreciate poetry as a literary form, develop their understanding by interpreting and evaluating both published works and the works of peer writers, that is their own friends, and to apply the principles of creative writing to improve communication in a variety of contexts. The papers that are to be dealt with, or what we have designed, or what we have thought of in the 5th and the 6th semesters are: advertising is one paper, this being a vocational program, so they will have a paper on entrepreneurial development program, a paper on filmmaking, and the last paper will be on cultural studies. The allotment of marks for all the 6 semesters remain the same, except for the 3rd and the 5th semester, there is a little change. Theory is for 70 marks, internal assessment is for 30, practicals 35 marks, internal assessment for practicals is 15 marks. At the end of the 2nd and 4th semesters, like I told you earlier, they have to do an internship. We call that as on-the-job training. And the students produce a report of their training or of their internship that's submitted in the 3rd and 5th semester, and they are marked for 50 on that. This is just a bird's eye view of the whole program that we have, that is communicative English, which not many teachers know. And there are just few colleges in Bangalore that offer this course, though it's quite popular in the autonomous and colleges in Bangalore, like Christ College, Mount Carmel College, and Jyotinivas College. They're very popular. This particular combination or this subject is quite popular there. But I don't, the last few years that we've had this in our college since I think 2004. And we are stuck with just a few people, just a few colleges. And somehow I thought one of the reasons could be that people are not ready to take up this subject or to teach this subject, because there's no ready material available like our other subjects where we have our textbooks and you have study material. This one does not have anything. The teacher has to learn, because most of us, at least people from my generation, we have not done this as a subject at our degree or a postgraduate level. So it was all learning on the job for us. That's it. This is what I wanted to tell the audience about. Thank you.
Thank you, Manjula.
One second. So I would like to thank Katyayani for inviting me and Jain College for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
It was nice where Manjula gave us a comprehensive description about how students must be taking up BA Communicative English. And of course, we had in the past, but now it's not there, where it was where they have included the art review, travel writing, and writing scripts for the RJ, and short story appreciation of the short story, where they brought even the language aspect of it. So thank you, Manjula, for joining us. And it was very nice of all the 3 speakers, wherein they just consented the moment I just asked them to make a presentation. And it was really very nice of them. So, Akhila ma'am, can we go for the questions if there are any? Yeah, Narsimhan sir says there is an urgent need to acquaint all the English teachers with communicative English. So it is to Manjula Veerappan.
Yes, sir. Narsim sir, hello. I do agree with you. I think we need to acquaint ourselves with these different aspects because language is something that is dynamic and evolving, and we cannot be static about our learnings about things. So I agree with you that we need to acquaint ourselves. Yes.
I have a question to Wasim sir. Can I?
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, what was the whole idea of putting the UPSC question paper, sir? Was it to cater to the students' needs because you want the students to take up UPSC exams or tone their communicative skills? Was that the main intentions to incorporate that?
Yes, ma'am. Since I teach in a government college, most of the students that we get come there to get a degree with an idea that they are planning to write an entrance exam for a government job. And since UPSC happens to be the mother of all examinations, we thought that it is nice if we can have a very high level question paper so that the students can understand to what extent do they have to prepare to crack a UPSC English paper.
It's a good preparation, actually. Wonderful idea, sir. Never have been thought about.
Right.
Any other questions from the participants? Kindly post them in the chat box if there are any. Okay, so there is a question from some anonymous attendee. I don't know, they have not specified their name. Imprints is a combination of lengthy lessons, and then there is a novella that is pretty tough to make first generation learners read. So, anybody who would like to?
I think it is directed
respond to
towards
it.
me.
Okay, sir.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
just your response to it.
Yeah,
sir.
yeah. The reason that I can accept the fact that yes, we have a few lengthy chapters, as we were seeing gradually from the past, I would say a few decades, I would say my chairperson was also of the same opinion, that the reading habit in students has constantly been decreasing. And we as teachers, we also have sometimes given into that, and we have been reducing the reading component in the literary text. So we thought that this would be a nice way to rediscover what actually reading stands for. And having the novella is an important aspect. Why? Because it makes them read the complete work rather than having just an excerpt. That would just give them an understanding. They would just summarize it or most of the times, or they would just go to any website and get some notes regarding that. This is not actually where it serves a purpose. So we thought that it is very important. We as teachers must emphasize on the importance of reading. And when we have to give an importance of reading to the students, we ourselves have to read. Thank you.
There is the continued part of it, sir, Wasim, sir.
Yes.
So how should a teacher deal with the first generation learners read a sci-fi, science fiction?
To just give a simple example, sci-fi happens to be, it's not something that is very new, right? So you can take examples from mythology, you can take examples from the local writers, you can take examples from the vernacular literature. There are ample examples. And today's first generation learner, mind you, is not somebody who is totally unaware of what is happening in the society. I'm pretty sure a student would be quite aware of Harry Potter, could be quite aware of Inception, if not anything, at least a simple Kannada movie like Lucia. I'm pretty sure they all would have seen it. So it is just that we as teachers must try to encourage them, to make them understand that it is not something that you can only watch it on the screen. You can also enjoy it by reading it, and making them understand that people have written about such futuristic sci-fi writings from the past 100 years ago, 150 years ago. That should be all the more interesting to the students.
I
Okay.
think Anita
Anita
ma'am,
Rao has joined. Yeah,
unmute.
Katyani ma'am, take up.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
she.
Shruti,
Yes, ma'am.
kindly unmute Dr. Anita Rao.
Yes, ma'am. Anita Rao, yeah. Yes, ma'am, they can talk. Anita, ma'am?
Yeah. Hello all. Hello, good evening. Katyayani ma'am, there was one more part to that question, right? About imprints 4?
Yeah, I just read it, ma'am. Like, how should a teacher deal with the first generation learners read a sci-fi?
No, before that, something long and short, something like that, no? Long pieces or short pieces, something like that was given.
To which Wasim sir answered. Yes, ma'am, your views on that.
Can you just repeat that question?
Yes, ma'am. Imprints is a combination of lengthy lessons. And then there is a novella that is pretty tough to make the first generation learners read. So this is more of reading habit and make them interested.
Yeah.
And
I got
how do
that
we go
part,
about it is what might the teacher
Yeah, I
be
think
asking.
sci-fi, Wasim sir has answered already. I don't think we should now have excuses. And Time Machine is very episodic. Okay. So that was the reason why we chose Time Machine too, because there were a lot of episodes in it and really not much by way of explanation. So it was quite self-explanatory. If the person who has written this cares to read the entire novella, they will know, because this is episodic material like this would interest the students more than very philosophical, like something like Old Man and the Sea, which is very philosophical. That might be a failure. Okay. So we took up a series of events. This is nothing but stringing of a series of events and warning us about the future. The Time Machine warns us about the future. And another reason why we chose Time Machine is it was at that point in time a seminal contribution. Time travel was not very popular when H.G. Wells wrote it. And as we were addressing science students, we thought, they should know the history of science fiction too. That is one thing. And lengthy pieces, Mysore Sandal is not very lengthy. Night of the Scorpion is not very lengthy. So we have tried to blend longer pieces with shorter pieces. So a careful look at the contents and the text would give the person who has asked this question an idea that there are long pieces and short pieces. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
There is one more question from Namrata Raghavendra. Hi, ma'am. My question is that the students of the present day consider English language paper as just for scoring, but not for any other information. You take up the task very seriously, keeping in mind of their further development, is her comment, or rather her observation on all the textbooks of all the streams, I believe. So would anybody like to?
Can I answer that?
Yes, Anita ma'am.
I think, if the teacher herself or himself falls into this trap of only teaching language, then, there's going to be a serious problem. We are not just, all language teachers know for sure through their experiences in class that they're teaching certain sensibilities, certain ways of thinking through language. So language is just a kind of a pretext and a medium. So I think we have to reconfigure our idea of teaching language. It is not just to teach a language. It is teaching a way of thinking, which really is what language teachers should do. Critical sensibility, cognitive abilities, all this comes in writing skills. Otherwise, why would we have answers, long descriptive answers? Even for all competitive exams, elimination round is the round where the writing skills are tested. So I think we should focus on that. Anybody else wants to say something, they can. This is my view.
Taking one last question. Does any of the heads of the textbook committee members want to answer or observe? Okay, so moving on to the next one, perhaps the last one. Can we safely assume that the standard of English we have in this new curriculum is going to bring a paradigm shift from rote learning to analytical interpretation? Would anybody like to answer to that?
Yes, ma'am, may I?
Yes, Wasim sir.
Yeah, I think, yes, definitely. Any textbook, when it has its birth, it, it goes through this idea that it is going to change. And in the process of change, we as the vehicles of change, we must never give up. And if we are strongly determined, yes, this is the book which is going to be seminal, which is going to change the face of English education, it will.
Yes, sir, I agree to it.
I think every book is a harbinger of a paradigm shift. Every textbook is. There is no perfect textbook in sight. There is no worst textbook in sight. It's what the teacher makes of it.
Narsimhan sir has to say something to Anita ma'am. It's nice to see Anita ma'am back in action now. Share your tips on effective teaching of novella or a play in an online classroom. Anita ma'am.
Yeah, first of all, there is no essential difference between a play and a poem. I think last time another evening college, Jane College had organized something, and then I was telling him the same thing. We would do grave injustice, if we don't read a poem as it should be read in a class. In the same way, we have to do a little bit of preparation, of course. In the beginning, lead them by giving a play an expressive reading, and then slowly guide them into taking up parts and then preparing and coming, ready for, almost rehearsing or enacting like a radio play. And that would make it very interesting. And then that can be supplemented by a movie of the same play, or, YouTube play of the same play. And that would give them an insight into how actually theater works. Reading a play in a classroom as a script is different, but theater is a different cup of tea. So it should be supplemented by some other visuals. That's one thing. Novella, what I have always done is I have insisted first and foremost that they read the novella. 50% of them do and 50% don't. We cannot do anything with the 50% who refuse to do anything. The ones who do, I always give them certain tips as to how to read a novella, like, underline the important lines, and then which you think is very important, and then bracket the important parts. And then I say that, you name each character A, B, C, D, E. And then when you see, something about A being said, write A in the textbook, write B, and make a small table where on each page, A said something, page 27, page 32. This will give you a wonderful insight into the characterization. And I always tell them how characters, when they speak about themselves, it's different. When others represent them, it's different. When others talk to them and react to them, it's different. So how do you go about doing the characterization, not just reading spark notes, but taking material from the text itself as primary source? So this, I guide them through how to do that. And I find that many of them, like this exercise and they follow it. Not everybody, no class will have will have 100% doing that, but at least if 40% do that, I mean, you are giving them tips to reading skills, guided reading. I hope I have answered your question, Narasimhan sir.
Sure, madam. Yes, I agree.
If you have any inputs, you can share it with everybody, sir.
That's exactly because I thought uh, teaching a novella and a play will be somewhat different, especially given the situation that we are in and we will be in the days to come. Online session will be the order of the day. And as you mentioned very rightly, that taking excerpts, giving them some sort of assignments pertaining to the reading of the text probably would go a long way in deciding the fortunes of the play in the online session. And well, I thought even the play for that matter, just because it's an online classroom, we can't really undermine its utility for the students. We can't undermine, the efforts of the creator of that, book as well. So
Yeah.
we need to, evolve our own methods in such a way, and we trusting our teaching fraternity as very innovative. We will have, innumerable methods of, making students understand what they need to understand, and we can do that, in the best possible manner. Thank you, madam.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Akila ma'am,
Shruti ma'am.
ma'am, there's Musrat Jan. They have raised their hand. They want to ask something. Can I unmute them?
So unmute. Musrat Jahan ma'am. Okay, I think she has posted her observation here. As English teachers, can we approach, okay, it's a question. Can we approach people in English fraternity for our knowledge enhancement and other effective skill development? I repeat, as English teachers, can we approach people in English fraternity for our knowledge enhancement and other effective skill development? Would anybody like to
I think the very word
respond to
fraternity
it?
says that we are there to help each other. So I'm sure any teacher would be more than willing to support, assist, encourage, motivate others to better themselves. So I think that's the role that many experienced teachers have to don. They have to, lend a supporting hand to the younger teachers if they want. I don't think anybody would refuse.
Just to add to what Anita ma'am said, Anita ma'am's was the theory and the practical is right in front of you. I have been taught, I have been guided, I have been shown the way by Anita ma'am. So, as rightly said, we are a fraternity and we should remain one.
Thank you, Wasim sir.
Yes. So on that positive note of solidarity and being integral part of those igniting minds, the younger minds, I would now request Professor Usha BN of the Department of English, our
One
colleague,
last word,
to
ma'am.
propose the vote of thanks for this. Yes, Anita ma'am.
Anybody at any point in time can approach me. I'll be more than willing to help out. When it comes to whether it is imprint score or anything else, they're always free to approach me. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah.
Thank you for that nice gesture, ma'am. Thank you so much. Usha ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. We've come to the end
Thank
of
you,
a wonderful...
Katyayani ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, we've come to the end of a wonderful inaugural session, indeed. I think the inaugural session gave us an not just an overview, but also gave us an understanding of what is expected of not just students, but also as teachers, what is expected out of us and how we build our own perspectives and, equip ourselves to deal with the syllabus which we will be, imparting to the students. I'm really very happy to be proposing this vote of thanks at the end of this wonderful session. Firstly, I would like to thank Dr. Chainraj Roychan, founder, chairman, Jain Group of Institutions, for his relentless support for all the activities in our college. I'd also like to thank Ravindra Bhandari sir, Vice President of JHI Group of Institutions, for his encouraging, for always encouraging us to do better. My sincere thanks to Dr. N. Sundararajan sir, Pro Chancellor, Jain deemed to be University, for always inspiring us to achieve academic excellence. I'd like to also thank Dr. Ishwaran Nayan sir, for Pro Vice Chancellor, Jain deemed to be University, for consistent guidance and support. Our huge thanks to our principal, Dr. C.M. Naveen Kumar sir, without whose support this program would not be possible. He's always his enthusiasm to do different things in the campus, try out different ideas. Thank you, sir, for all the support you have extended to us. Coming to the inaugural session and the speakers, Dr. Chitra Panikar, ma'am, thank you so much, ma'am. It was very interesting to listen to you about the kind of journey that these textbooks have taken and the kind of aspirations and the goals that you have set about for this textbook, committees and the textbook production. Our sincere thanks to Dr. Padma Lochana R. ma'am, chairperson of the optional English textbook, for highlighting the themes of marginalization and the discourses that play an important role in literature, which is part of the optional English textbook. She spoke about that. Thank you, ma'am. That was very useful. I would also like to thank Professor Wasim Akram, sir. Thank you, sir, for giving us not just an overview of your BSc textbook, but also the kind of sensibilities, perspectives, and the skills that the students will be gaining out of the textbook that you have shaped. And finally, I would also like to thank Professor Manjula Veerappa, ma'am, chairperson of the Communicative English textbook. And thank you, ma'am. Really, you covered a wide range of topics, highlighting the significance of communicative English and the kind of role it can play in shaping students' future. I'd like to thank Dr. M.P. Saravanan, sir, and Professor Shruti, ma'am, our dear colleagues, who have extended the technical support for this program, for this online FDP. Thank you, both of you. I also thank all my dear colleagues at the Department of English who have so enthusiastically worked towards making this session successful. And I have to mention the student volunteers who have been so full of energy and zealous, in supporting all the work that goes into making a program like this. Thank you, everybody. It has been a very interesting and enlightening session. Thank you, one and all.
Yeah, the last remark would be there will be no feedback forms, the requirement of feedback forms today, as it was the inaugural session. Day 2, that is tomorrow, we have the resource person, Dr. R.V. Sheila, who will be dealing with Insights 4, that is BCom General English textbook in detail. And we are looking forward for that session. From tomorrow, the feedback links will be posted in the chat box. And at the end of the session, when it is posted, I request all of the participants to kindly provide a feedback regarding that particular session. Thank you all. Stay home, stay safe.
I'm really sorry for this omission that I did. I would like to also thank Dr. Anita Rao, ma'am, who joined us at at the end of the session. Thank you, ma'am. Your inputs were very valuable, and all the panelists were also here today. Thank you so much for being part of this inaugural program. Sorry for this last minute.
So thank you so much, everybody who has been a part of this inaugural session. You all made this inaugural session a successful one, I think. Thank you. Have a great day ahead. Meet you tomorrow at 4 o'clock in the evening. Thank you all. And the link will be posted tomorrow by the afternoon in the WhatsApp group and will be mailed to you in the morning. Thank you, everybody.